Killing babies is pretty evil. What if I told you there's a company that killed millions of babies, is one of the biggest plastic polluters on our planet, still uses child labor today, and has repeatedly sold food that was contaminated by either lead, microplastics, or other toxic materials? You would probably think that such a company couldn't possibly exist in today's world. Well, let me introduce you to Nestle.
Nestle's makes the very best. Sure, and it's chocolate.
A Swiss multinational conglomerate that owns thousands of companies. It is the largest food company in the world, and they didn't get there because of their morals. In 1867, Henry Nestle created a baby formula, what would be their most important product in the coming future. In 1905, Henry Nestle's company merges with the Anglo-Swiss Condensed Milk Company to form what we know today as the Nestle Group. For a very long time, Nestle managed to stay under the radar, even while surviving both world wars. It isn't until the 70s that things go sour for them. Since the invention of the baby formula, Nestle had been marketing their product as being better for infants than natural breast milk. A claim that is absolutely false. Their baby formula doesn't contain nearly as much nutrition as breast milk. The nutrients in breast milk are also better absorbed and used by babies. And lastly, breast milk has many disease-fighting factors that help prevent infections, making baby formula without a doubt inferior to breastfeeding. But Nestle doesn't care. In the 70s, Nestle started introducing their products to developing countries. They hired women with no past clinical experience and dressed them in nurse uniforms to market their baby formula. These fake nurses went to hospitals and villages to offer advice about nutrition and feedings, while also giving away samples of the Nestle baby formula. And here is where it gets really evil. Nestle gave away just enough baby formula to last until the mothers stopped producing naturally. The mothers, now dependent on the baby formula, had no other option but to buy Nestle's product. However, most of the mothers in the developing countries were very poor, and they had to water down the milk to make it last longer. They would add as much as 3 times the recommended amount of water, severely lowering the nutritional value of the formula. And to make it worse, mothers used contaminated water to add to the formula, causing sicknesses like diarrhea. Keep in mind that most of the women didn't have access to clean drinking water, or were illiterate and couldn't possibly read the instructions. With an increasing number of infant deaths in developing countries, the World Health Organization and UNICEF started an investigation. They found that millions of babies were dying of malnutrition and diarrhea, caused by protein deficiencies directly related to the use of the Nestle baby formula. You would rightfully think that Nestle couldn't possibly try to spin this around in something positive. Well, fast forward to 2024 and notice that on their website it says, Nestle later becomes one of the first companies to apply the WHO code on breast milk substitutes, leaving out the part where millions of babies died because of the Nestle baby formula. And the reason why the WHO code came in existence in the first place was Nestle's baby formula campaign. Nestle created a market where there wasn't one, causing millions to die in the process. But that's not the only evil thing they did. All humans have the same basic needs, consisting out of food, shelter, and water. If we have those things, we can survive. Many countries believe water should be a basic right. Nestle does not. All around the world, natural water sources are drying out, and global droughts combined with wildfires are increasing at an alarming rate. Nestle, always looking to make an extra buck, saw this opportunity to make a good profit. They bought and are still buying natural water sources around the world, and in 2013, reports surfaced Within a small Pakistani community, thousands of Pakistanis were getting sick because they were forced to drink sludge water. Why? Because Nestlé drained their water supply for their bottled water. And to make things worse, Nestlé actually sold back the water to the Pakistanis to make a profit. And this problem is not unique to developing countries. In matter of fact, in 2014 in American state Michigan, there were around 100,000 people that only had access to poisonous drinking water. The only fresh water reserve still safe to drink is owned by Nestlé. And here comes the interesting part. It was sold to Nestlé by the former governor Rick Snyder for only $200. Snyder's then chief of staff, who oversaw the defunding of Flint's water sources, is married to Nestlé's Michigan spokesperson Deborah Munchmore. Hi Deborah. What's even worse is that a year prior, Governor Rick Snyder rolled out the Pure Michigan Fit program to battle childhood obesity, where people would be told how to get the best nutrition using state benefits. Provided by Nestlé's baby food brand Gerber. Fun fact, recently in 2024, Nestlé was found selling cereal for babies that contains around 1.5 cubes of sugar, which can lead to obesity later in life. At this point, I'm pretty deep into the rabbit hole, and I keep finding scandals connected to Nestlé that I want to include in the video, ranging from cases of using tap water to fill their own bottles, to bigger scandals like selling contaminated food and water, price fixing, contaminating groundwater, and plastic pollution. But there's a bigger scandal I want to discuss in this video. And I have to draw the line somewhere. You know what the S stands for Nestlé? Slavery. And what's worse than slavery? Child slavery. Most of the cacao Nestlé uses for its products comes from the Ivory Coast and Ghana. And in 2020, the US Department of Labor announced that 1.6 million children are working illegally in the Ivory Coast and Ghana. And a percentage of those children have been trafficked and held as slaves. The other children work for as little as $1 per day. And although Nestlé claims on their own website that they do everything they can to battle child labor and slavery, the reality shows something different.
Children are working in virtually every single agricultural setup around the world.
Yes.
Okay? As a matter of fact, when I was 11 or 12 years old, I went to help a farmer. I did not get paid for it. I did it because I thought it was fun. That was child labor. A child working.
And that's the same.
It's not the same. It's evidently. I didn't need to do that. Okay?
Yeah.
For a poor farmer in Africa, often the help that he gets from his children is vital in order to maintain the standard of living of the family.
Because they
are so desperately poor.
Because they don't get paid enough by Nestlé or by the companies they work for.
That's it. Thank you very much.
This interview was conducted in 2003. It is still relevant today. This was the situation on one of their farms a year ago.
Instead of attending school, these children in the Ivory Coast sort through cocoa beans on a plantation. Child labour in the industry is a scourge the country is trying to stamp out.
Every year, companies like Nestlé keep the child labor system alive by paying the farms the bare minimum, forcing them to find the cheapest workers there are to make a profit. And sadly, those workers are children. These companies try to greenwash their own reputation. But the reality is, this is what real evil looks like.